Nari Kang sat alone in her research station and stared at the black screen. The message had come through 10 minutes ago. She had read it 5 times, but the words still did not feel real. Her brother Jiho was dead. A mining accident on Mars. Collapse in Tunnel 7. 17 people gone in seconds. Jiho was 24 years old. He had sent her a message just last week, talking about his new girlfriend and the restaurant they wanted to open together when his contract ended. Now he was gone. NAR. I was 8 months away from Earth. 8 months of travel through the dark, nothing between stars. She could not go to his funeral. She could not hold her mother while she cried. She could not stand at his grave and say goodbye. She was alone on a planet called Talvos 3, studying aliens who did not understand tears. The sob came out of her throat like something breaking. Then another. Then she was crying so hard she could not breathe right. She put her head down on the desk and let it all come out. The sound of her crying filled the small room. Outside her window, 3 small shapes moved through the purple grass. Valrus was the first to notice the sound. He stopped running and tilted his head. His large ears turned toward the human building. "Do you hear that?" He whispered to his friends. Keta and Shoru stopped too. They were all young, not yet old enough for their adult hunting lessons. They often played near the human research station, even though their parents told them not to. "It sounds like pain," Shoru said. Her tail dropped low. "Is the human hurt?" The 3 cubs crept closer. They had seen the human before. She was strange-looking, with no fur except on her head. She walked on 2 legs all the time, not just when she needed to reach high things. She made loud noises into her recording devices and wrote things down on glowing screens, but she had never made sounds like this. They reached the window and looked inside. The human was bent over her desk. Her shoulders shook. Water ran down her face. The sounds coming from her were terrible, like an animal dying. "She is wounded," Valrus said. His voice was scared. "We should get help. Look." Keta pointed with his nose. "There is no blood, no injury. Then why does she cry?" Shoru asked. "Only the dying cry like that." They watched for a long time. The human did not stop. She cried and cried, and the cubs felt something strange in their chests. It hurt to hear her pain. It hurt to watch her suffer alone. "We should go inside," Shoru said suddenly. "What?" Valrus stared at her. "We cannot. Father says humans are not pack. We do not touch those outside our blood." "But she is hurt," Shoru said. "Can you not feel it?" "Something terrible has happened to her." Keta looked at the human again. She had lifted her head and was staring at something on her screen. It showed a picture of another human, a male with a bright smile. The human touched the screen gently, and her crying started again. Quieter this time, but somehow worse. "When?" "My little sister was sick," Keta said slowly. Mother sat with her. She did not speak. She just put her paw on sister's head until the fever broke. It helped. I saw it help. "This is different," Valrus said, but his voice was uncertain. "Is it?" Shoru was already moving toward the door. "She is alone. She is in pain. We are here." The door was not locked. Humans did not fear the Talvani. The cubs slipped inside, moving on quiet feet. They had never been inside the human building before. It smelled strange, like metal and cleaning chemicals, and something else, something warm that might be the human herself. They found her in the main room. She had her head in her arms now, crying more softly. She did not hear them approach. Shoru reached her first. She placed one small paw on the human's hand where it rested on the desk. Nari's head snapped up. She gasped and pulled back slightly. 3 small aliens stood beside her desk. They had large eyes that glowed slightly in the dim light. Their fur was soft-looking, colored in patterns of gray and silver. They were children, she realized. Cubs. She had seen them playing in the distance, but never up close. They were staring at her with concern so clear it needed no translation. "Oh," Nari breathed. "You should not be here." Keta placed his paw on her other hand. Varus hesitated, then added his paw to the pile. 3 small, warm points of contact. They did not speak. They just stood there, touching her, watching her with those huge eyes. Something broke open in Nari's chest, but this time it was not pain. These alien children had heard her crying and come to help. They did not know her. They did not understand what was wrong, but they came anyway. "Thank you," she whispered. Her voice cracked. "Thank you." They stayed like that for a long time. The cubs did not move their paws. Nari's crying slowly stopped. She found herself looking at each small face, seeing the genuine worry there, seeing the kindness. Finally, she smiled. It was a small, broken smile, but it was real. "I lost someone," she told them, even though they probably did not understand her words. "Someone I loved very much. But you 3 just showed me something important. Kindness exists everywhere, even here, even now." Shoru made a small chirping sound. Keta's tail swayed gently. Valrus blinked his large eyes slowly. They understood enough. Outside, the purple sun was setting on Talvos 3. Inside the research station, a human and 3 alien cubs sat together in the growing darkness. And for the first time since the terrible news came, Nari did not feel completely alone. The cubs' parents found out the next morning. Nari was making breakfast when she heard the angry voices outside. She looked through the window and saw 3 adult Talvani standing in front of her station. They were larger than the cubs, with darker fur and sharp eyes. Behind them, Valrus, Keta, and Shoru stood with their heads low and tails tucked. Nari went outside. "Good morning," she said carefully. "Is something wrong?" The largest of the adults stepped forward. His name was Day, and he was Valrus's father. "Your kind does not understand our ways," he said. His voice was hard. "But my son must learn them. What happened here last night cannot happen again." "I do not understand," Nari said. "The cubs were kind to me. They did nothing wrong." "They touched you," another adult said. This was Hana, Keta's mother. "Physical contact is sacred among our people. We touch only blood family and chosen mates. No one else. Never." Nari looked at the cubs. They would not meet her eyes. "They saw I was in pain," she said. "They wanted to help. That is the problem," they said. "They are learning human weakness, emotions that spill over, attachment to strangers. These things make a hunter vulnerable." "I did not ask them to come," Nari said. "They chose to help me. Is that not a good thing?" "No," Hannah said flatly. "It is dangerous." The third adult had not spoken yet. His name was Virash, and he was younger than the others. He was a scholar, Nari knew, someone who studied other species. He watched her with curious eyes. "What were you doing?" Virash asked. "When the cubs found you." Nari hesitated. "I was grieving." "Grieving?" Virash tilted his head. "You were injured?" "No, I received news that my brother died. Far away, on another world." The 3 adults looked at each other. "You cried over distance news?" they asked. "Over something you cannot change or fix?" "Yes," Nari said. "Because I loved him. Because he mattered to me." Virash stepped closer. "You use past tense." "He mattered." "Not matters. He is gone," Nari said quietly. "So yes, past tense. But he lives in your memory," Virash said. "Does he not?" "You carry him with you. So he still exists." "That is not the same," Nari said. "Memory is not enough. I wanted more time with him. I wanted to see him grow old. I wanted to meet his children someday. All of that is gone now. Virash made a sound in his throat, something thoughtful. Humans grieve for futures that will not happen, not just for what is lost, but for what might have been. Yes, Nari said. That seems like a very painful way to exist, Hana said. It is, Nari agreed. But it is also part of loving someone. The pain and the love come together. Day shook his head. My son touched you because of this pain. He bonded with a stranger over suffering. This is not our way. Perhaps it should be, Virash said quietly. Everyone looked at him. He did not back down. I have studied 17 species, he said. Humans are unusual in many ways. They form attachments rapidly and deeply. They bond with their own kind, with other species, even with machines and plants. Most species find this excessive, wasteful, dangerous. It is dangerous, they said. Perhaps, Virash said. But humans are also the only species that actively seeks out other intelligent life. They build alliances across stars. They learn languages that hurt their throats to speak. They adapt to worlds that should kill them. Why? I do not know, Hana said. Because they bond, Virash said. Because they attach. Because they care about things beyond their own survival. He looked at Nari. Your brother. Did he help you in your work here? No, Nari said. He was a miner. We had different jobs. Then his death does not affect your ability to survive or complete your mission here? No, Nari said. But it affects everything else. Explain, Virash said. Nari took a breath. Jiho was the reason I became a scientist. When we were children, he found an injured bird. He brought it home and we cared for it together. He asked me why the bird's wing was shaped that way. I did not know. So I learned. I kept learning. I became who I am because he asked questions and cared about answers. So he shaped you, Virash said. Yes, Nari said. And now he is gone, but that shape remains. I am still the person he helped create. When I do my work here, studying your people, learning about your world, part of that is him. He lives in my actions. Virash was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, humans carry their dead with them. Not as burdens, but as foundations. I never thought of it that way, Nari said. But yes, that is right. Day made a frustrated sound. This is all very interesting, scholar. But it does not change the fact that our cubs broke sacred law. They touched an outsider. There must be consequences. What kind of consequences? Nari asked. Fear touched her heart. They will be isolated for 1 moon cycle, Hana said. No contact with other cubs. No play. They must learn the seriousness of their actions. Nari looked at the 3 small figures. They looked miserable. Please, she said, do not punish them for being kind. It is not punishment, they said. It is education. In my culture, Nari said carefully, we teach children that kindness is good, that helping others is right. Even strangers. Especially strangers. Your culture is not ours, Hana said. No, Nari said. But maybe that is why you should listen. I have been here for 6 months, studying your people. You are strong, fast, intelligent. Your children learn quickly, and your society runs smoothly. But I have never seen anyone help someone just because they were suffering. I have never seen anyone reach out to someone in pain. Because pain is private, they said. To share it is to show weakness. Is it weak to acknowledge suffering exists? Nari asked. Is it weak to say, I see you hurting and I care? Yes, Hana said. Because caring makes you vulnerable. Maybe, Nari said. But it also makes you human. Or in your case, Talani. Your cubs saw me in pain and responded with compassion. That is not weakness. That is strength I did not know your people possessed. Virash was watching her closely now. You believe compassion is a strength? I know it is, Nari said. My people have survived wars, plagues, and disasters. We have crossed stars and built homes on dead moons. We did it together. We did it because we cared about each other's survival, not just our own. Interesting, Varash said. He looked at Day and Hana. I wish to study this further. I request permission to speak with the human regularly, to understand this trait better. Why? Day asked. Because if caring for strangers is truly a strength, Varash said, then we are weaker than we thought. And that is something we should know. Hana and Day exchanged looks. Finally, Day nodded. Very well. But the cub's isolation stands. They must learn boundaries. Understood, Varash said. The adults left, taking the cubs with them. Before they disappeared into the purple grass, Shoru looked back once. Nari raised her hand in a small wave. The cub's ears perked up slightly before she turned away. Varash remained behind. May I ask you questions? He said. Yes, Nari said. Please. Good, Varash said. Because I think you humans might be the most dangerous species I have ever studied. And I need to understand why. Nari smiled slightly. Dangerous? Yes, Varash said. You make people care, even when they should not, even when it cost them. He looked toward where the cubs had gone, especially the young ones. They felt your pain, and it became their own. That is a terrifying power. Nari thought about Jiho, about the cub's small paws on her hands, about the way kindness could cross species and languages and stars. Yes, she said quietly. I suppose it is. The storm warnings came 3 weeks after the cubs were isolated. Nari was eating lunch when her computer started beeping. She pulled up the weather monitor and felt her stomach drop. A massive ion storm was moving toward Talvos 3. The prediction showed it would hit in 6 hours. She had read about these storms in the research files. They happened once every 60 years. The last one had destroyed half the planet's magnetic field temporarily. Anything outside during an ion storm would be fried. Electronics, buildings, living things. Everything. Her research station had shields designed specifically for this kind of event. The Tovani settlement did not. Nari opened a communication channel to the settlement. This is Dr. Kang at the Human Research Station. A severe ion storm is approaching. My station has protective shields. Yours does not. You need to evacuate to my location immediately. There was a long pause. Then a voice came through. It was Selki's, the settlement's matriarch. She was old and respected, and her word was law among her people. We do not need human help, Selki said. We have survived storms before. Not like this one, Nari said. Please look at the data I am sending you. This storm is Category 9. Your traditional shelters cannot protect you from it. We will manage, Selki said. We do not run to outsiders when nature challenges us. This is not about pride, Nari said. She tried to keep her voice calm. This is about survival. I have room for everyone, please. No, Selki said. We are Tovani. We endure. The channel closed. Nari stared at the screen. 47 Tovani lived in that settlement. 15 adults and 32 cubs. They would all die if they stayed in their homes. She thought about Voris, Keta, and Shoru, about their small paws on her hands, about the way they had tried to help her, even though it was forbidden. She opened a public broadcast channel, one that every device in the settlement would receive. This is Dr. Nari Kang. In 5.5 hours, an ion storm will kill everything outside protective shields. I have shields. I have food. I have medical supplies. My door is open to anyone who wants to live. I will not turn anyone away. Run if you want to survive. I will pull you inside myself, if I have to. She closed the channel and started preparing. She moved furniture to make more space. She pulled out all her food supplies. She set up her medical equipment. She activated the external beacon so people could find the station, even in the storm's early stages. Then she waited. 30 minutes passed. The sky was darkening. The storm was still hours away, but its leading edge was already affecting the atmosphere. Purple lightning flickered on the horizon. Nari heard scratching at her door. She opened it and found the 3 cubs. Varus, Keta, and Shoru stood there, and between them they were dragging another cub, smaller and younger. The small one's back legs were not working right. They dragged uselessly behind her. Please, Shoru said in broken human language. She had been learning from Varash's lessons. Sister hurt. Need help. Come in, Nari said immediately. She helped them pull the injured cub inside. What is her name? Mary, Keta said. She born wrong. Legs not work. Nari looked at the tiny cub. Mary's eyes were huge and frightened. You are safe now, Nari told her. All of you are safe. She had just gotten them settled when more Talvani arrived. The rush came with 2 elderly adults who moved slowly. The matriarch still refuses to evacuate, he said. But some of us choose to live. You are welcome here, Nari said. More came. Parents with young cubs. Hunters who had done the calculations and knew the truth. The station was getting crowded. The sky was nearly black now. The wind was picking up. Nari checked her monitors. 3 hours until the storm hit at full force. Then she saw them through the window. The rest of the settlement running across the purple grass. Selkies was in the lead, her pride clearly broken. Behind her came the remaining Talvani, all of them racing toward the human station. Nari opened the door wide. Hurry, she shouted. They poured inside. 43 Talvani and 1 human in a space designed for 15 people. They were pressed together, touching whether they wanted to or not. The cultural taboo against contact meant nothing now. Survival was all that mattered. Nari sealed the door and activated the shields just as the storm's leading edge hit. The building shook. Lightning struck so close that the thunder was immediate and deafening. The cubs cried out in fear. The shields will hold, Nari said loudly. We are safe here. Selkie stood in the corner, her fur bristling with shame and anger. You made us look weak, she said to Nari. I kept you alive, Nari replied. There is no weakness in that. The storm raged for 3 days. Nari did not sleep. She monitored the shield systems constantly. They were designed for this storm, but they had never been tested with this many life forms inside, creating heat and using oxygen. She adjusted settings every few hours, keeping everything balanced. She also moved through the crowded space, checking on people. The elderly needed water more frequently. The cubs needed reassurance. Mary needed special care for her paralyzed legs. On the 2nd day, one of the shield generators started overheating. Nari caught it before it failed, but it was close. She rerouted power and reduced life support in her private quarters to keep the main area safe. You are exhausted, Varash said. He had been watching her. You need rest. I will rest when the storm passes, Nari said. Right now, everyone needs me functioning. Why? Varash asked. Why do you care this much? We are not your people. Our survival does not benefit you. Nari looked around the room. Cubs sleeping in piles. Adults sitting pressed together. Miri curled up against her older siblings. When I was young, she said, my grandmother told me a story. She said that when she was a little girl, there was a war. Soldiers came to her village. They were going to kill everyone. But a stranger, someone from another country, hid her family in his basement. He risked his life for people he did not know. Why did he do it? Varash asked. My grandmother asked him that later, Nari said. He said, because you needed help and I could give it. What else matters? She smiled tiredly. That stranger is why I exist. My grandmother survived. She had children. One of them became my mother. The chain of kindness led to me. And now you continue it, Varash said. Yes, Nari said. I cannot save everyone in the universe, but I can save the people in this room. So I will. On the third day, the storm began to weaken. The lightning came less frequently. The wind died down. Nari checked her monitors and felt relief wash through her. The worst was over. She made an announcement. The storm is passing. In a few hours, it will be safe to go outside. We made it. There was no cheering. Talvani did not celebrate like humans. But Nari saw the relief in their eyes. Saw the way they looked at her differently now. That night, Miri would not leave Nari's side. The small cub stayed pressed against her leg. When Nari sat down to finally rest for a few minutes, Miri climbed into her lap. Nari held her gently and hummed an old song. A Korean lullaby her mother had sung to her and Jiho when they were small. She did not remember all the words anymore, but the melody remained. Miri relaxed in her arms. The cub's breathing slowed and steadied. She fell asleep feeling safe. Across the room, Varash was writing in his notebook. He looked up and caught Nari's eye. He did not speak, but his expression said everything. He was beginning to understand. Selkies watched from her corner. The proud matriarch who had refused help. She looked at Nari, holding the paralyzed cub, singing a strange song in a strange language. Keeping watch even though she had not slept in 3 days. You adopt pain, Selkies said quietly. Not just joy. You adopt their suffering. That is why you do this. Nari looked up. Yes, she said simply. That is a terrible burden to carry, Selkies said. Yes, Nari agreed. But it is also the reason I am still here. The reason I get up every morning. Someone has to care. If not me, then who? Selkies had no answer for that dot outside. The storm died completely. The purple sun rose on a changed world. The Talvani settlement was destroyed, but its people were alive, and they were beginning to learn what it meant to be saved by someone who had every reason not to care, but cared anyway. The settlement was gone. Nari stood with the Talvani and looked at what remained. The storm had flattened everything. Where homes once stood, there was only scorched earth and scattered debris. The community hall, the food storage, the teaching areas. All destroyed. We will rebuild, Selkies said. Her voice was firm, but Nari heard the uncertainty beneath it. We have done it before. Not alone, Nari said. Let me help. Selkies looked at her for a long moment. Then she nodded once. It was the first time the matriarch had accepted human help without being forced to. The work began immediately. Nari called the Galactic Council and requested emergency supplies. She used her research station's fabricators to create building materials. She worked alongside the Talvani, clearing debris and planning new structures. The cubs followed her everywhere, especially Miri. The small cub with paralyzed legs had attached herself to Nari completely. Wherever Nari went, Miri dragged herself along behind. When Nari sat to rest, Miri climbed into her lap. When Nari ate, Miri pressed against her leg and waited for scraps. She is bonded to you, Varash said one evening. He and Nari were sitting outside the research station, watching the purple sunset. Miri was asleep in Nari's arms. In our culture, that level of attachment only happens with birth mothers. I am not her mother, Nari said. No, Varash agreed. But you saved her life. You held her when she was frightened. You sang to her. To Miri, you are safety. You are comfort. Those are mother things. Nari looked down at the sleeping cub. Miri's small chest rose and fell peacefully. On Earth, Nari said, we have a saying. Blood makes you related. Loyalty makes you family. Miri and I share no blood. But I think we are becoming family anyway. How is that possible? Varash asked. Family is blood. It is genetics and evolutionary survival. How can you create family from nothing? It is not from nothing, Nari said. It is from choice. I choose to care for her. She chooses to trust me. That is enough. Varash was quiet for a while. Then he said, I have been writing about humans. About your capacity for attachment. I think I am beginning to understand why your species is both weak and strong. Tell me, Nari said. You are weak because you feel too much, Varash said. You cry over distances. You grieve for futures that will not happen. You attach to strangers who cannot benefit your survival. All of this makes you vulnerable. Yes, Nari said. And the strength? The strength is that you never face anything alone, Varash said. Even here, 8 months from your home world, you are not truly alone. You carry your brother with you. You have adopted these cubs. You have made connections where none should exist. So even when you should be isolated and weak, you have a pack. A family, Nari corrected gently. Yes, Varash said. A family. We Talvani are solitary by nature. We form packs for survival, but we do not love them. We do not miss them when they are gone. We do not grieve. Does that make life easier? Nari asked. I thought it did, Varash said, but now I am not certain. We survived the storm because you cared whether we lived or died. We are rebuilding because you help us. We learn from you because you teach us. What have we ever done for you? You came to me when I was crying, Nari said. She looked at Miri. These 3 cubs saw a stranger in pain and tried to help. That is something. It violated our culture, Varash said. Maybe your culture needed violating, Nari said. Then she softened her voice. I am sorry. That was rude. No, Varash said. It was honest, and I think you were right. 3 weeks into the rebuilding, Selkies came to the research station. She found Nari teaching Miri how to strengthen her front legs through exercises. The small cub could not walk on her back legs, but she was learning to move faster by pulling with her front ones. Good, Nari was saying. You are getting stronger every day. Miri chirped happily and tried the exercise again. Selkies watched for a moment. Then she said, May I speak with you? Nari looked up. Of course. They walked away from the cubs, out toward the purple grass fields. The sun was setting, painting everything in shades of violet and gold. I need to tell you something, Selkies said. About our history. About why we are the way we are. I am listening, Nari said. Our species evolved as solitary hunters, Selkies began. We did not form packs naturally. Each Talvani lived alone, hunted alone, died alone. We were efficient predators. We survived. Then what changed? Nari asked. Climate shift, Selkies said. About 10,000 of your years ago, the planet became colder. Prey became scarce. Solitary hunting was no longer enough. We had to cooperate or die. So you formed packs, Nari said. Yes, Selkies said, but we did not evolve for it. We forced ourselves to tolerate proximity. We made rules about touch and territory to manage our discomfort. We created a culture that allowed cooperation without true connection. It worked, Nari said. You survived. We survived, Selkies agreed. But I'm beginning to wonder if that is enough. She stopped walking and turned to face Nari directly. I am old, she said. I have led my people for many seasons. I have made difficult decisions. I have ensured our survival through droughts and predators and disasters. But I have never asked the question you asked during the storm. What question? Nari asked. You asked if not me, Then who? Selkie said. You asked why you care, why you help, why you carry burdens that are not yours to carry. She paused. I have never asked those questions because I was afraid of the answers. Why afraid? Nari asked gently. Because if I ask why I survive, I might discover I have no good reason, Selkie said. Her voice was quiet, almost vulnerable. We survive because we always have. We continue because stopping would mean ending. But what is the purpose? What are we surviving for? Nari thought about Jiho, about the cub's paws on her hands, about Miri sleeping trustingly in her arms. Maybe we are not meant to just survive, she said. Maybe we are meant to find reasons to keep going. Small reasons. A cub who needs help. A stranger who is crying. A garden that needs tending. You find the next small thing worth protecting, and then the next, and then the next. And eventually, you have built a life that means something. Is that what humans do? Selkies asked. That is what I do, Nari said. I cannot speak for all humans. But for me, right now, the reason I keep going is making sure Miri learns to be strong. Tomorrow, maybe it will be something else. Maybe it will be helping rebuild your settlement. Maybe it will be discovering something new about your culture. I do not need a grand purpose. I just need the next small purpose. Selkies looked out over the grass fields. The wind moved through the purple blades like waves on an ocean. I have led my people for 40 seasons, she said. In all that time, I have never held a cub that was not my own blood. I have never comforted someone who was crying. I have never sat with someone simply because they were alone. It is not too late, Nari said. Is it not? Selkies looked at her. I am old, set in my ways. Can I learn what you know? Can I learn to care? You already care, Nari said. You came to my station during the storm. You swallowed your pride to save your people. That was caring. That was survival instinct, Selkie said. Maybe, Nari said. Or maybe it was the first step towards something more. They stood together in the fading light. In the distance, they could hear the cubs playing. Miri's chirping voice rose above the others, happy and unafraid. Your brother, Selkie said suddenly. The one who died. What would he think of what you were doing here? Nari felt tears prick her eyes, but she smiled through them. He would laugh at me for adopting alien cubs. Then he would ask if they need anything. Then he would probably send me supplies and tell me to be careful. He would help, Selkie said. Yes, Nari said. That is who he was. Someone who helped. And that is who you are, Selkie said. Because he shaped you. Yes, Nari said. Selkies was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, Teach me. Teach us. Show us how to be more than survivors. Show us how to live with purpose. Nari looked at the old matriarch, at the pride and fear and hope warring in her expression. I can try, she said, but you have to be willing to be uncomfortable. You have to be willing to feel things you have avoided your whole life. Will it hurt? Selkies S.NAR. I thought about Jiho's death. About the grief that still woke her some mornings. About the way love and loss were tangled together forever. Yes, she said honestly. Sometimes it will hurt very much. But it will also be worth it. Selkies S.NAR. I thought about Miri's trusting weight in her arms. About the cub's paws on her hands. About this moment right now, standing with an alien leader who was asking to learn about love. Yes, she said. It will be worth it. 6 months later, the transport ship arrived. Nari stood at the window of her research station and watched it descend from the sky. It was a Galactic Council vessel, sleek and efficient. It had come to take her home. Her research term on Talvas 3 was complete. She had spent a full year studying the Talvani people. She had collected data, written reports, and documented everything required by her contract. Now she could return to Earth. She could attend Jiho's memorial. She could stand at his grave and say the goodbye she never got to say. She could hold her mother and grieve together. Behind her, Miri made a small distressed sound. Nari turned. The cub had dragged herself across the room and was looking up at her with huge, worried eyes. In the past 6 months, Miri had grown stronger. She could pull herself around quickly now, and she had learned to balance on her front legs in a way that let her reach higher shelves. But she still could not walk. She still needed help with many things. And she still slept in Nari's quarters every night. "It is okay," Nari told her gently. "The ship is just visiting." But Miri knew. Somehow, she understood. She pressed herself against Nari's leg and would not move. The transport captain contacted her. "Dr. Kang, we are ready for departure in 3 hours. Please prepare your belongings." "Understood," Nari said. "I will be ready." She closed the communication and sat down. Miri immediately climbed into her lap. The cub had gotten bigger, almost too big to hold comfortably, but Nari held her anyway. Outside, the Talvani settlement was almost completely rebuilt. The new structures were different from the old ones. They had a human touch now. Common spaces for gathering. A community kitchen. A learning center where Virish taught cubs about other species and cultures. The Talvani were changing. Slowly, carefully, they were learning to do more than just survive. Nari had taught them. Not through lectures or demands, but through example. She showed them how to comfort someone who was sad. How to celebrate small victories. How to offer help before it was asked for. The cubs learned fastest. Valrus, Kata, and Sharu no longer hid their emotions. They played openly, laughed freely, and comforted each other when hurt. The adults watched and slowly, cautiously, began to imitate. But it was Miri who had changed the most. The cub who could not walk had become the settlement's heart. She could not hunt or run or defend herself. By old Talvani standards, she should have been left to die. But Nari had taught them differently. She had shown them that value was not just about survival skills. Miri became the one who greeted visitors, who noticed when someone was lonely, who sat with the elderly and kept them company. She could not do traditional Talvani things, so she invented new ones. Things that mattered just as much. There was a knock at the door. Nari opened it to find Varash standing there. He looked troubled. "You are leaving," he said. It was not a question. "My contract is complete," Nari said. "I have to return home. Do you want to?" Varash asked. Nari hesitated. "I want to honor my brother. I want to see my family. But I also want to stay here. I want to see Miri grow up. I want to continue teaching. Then stay," Virash said simply. "It is not that simple," Nari said. "Why not?" Virash asked. "You have made a family here. You have a purpose here. Is that not enough?" Nari looked at Miri. The cub was watching her with trusting eyes. "Jiho deserves to be honored properly," she said quietly. "I need to go to his grave. I need to say goodbye. And after?" Varash asked. "After you have honored him, what then?" "I do not know," Nari admitted. Selkies arrived an hour later. She came with all 3 original cubs and their parents. Day and Hana, who had once been so angry about their children touching a stranger, now stood beside Nari with respect in their eyes. "We have prepared something," Selkie said. "For you. Before you leave." They led her to the center of the rebuilt settlement. There, in the new community hall, stood a stone monument. It was carved from local rock, smooth and purple-gray. On it were words in both human and Talvani languages. Nari stepped closer and read the human words. Her breath caught in her throat. It said, "Kang Jiho, brother of Nari," the one she carried with her. The reason she taught us that tears can be holy. Below that, in smaller letters, "Some people live forever in the actions of those they shaped." Nari felt tears running down her face. She did not try to stop them. The Telvanni no longer looked away when she cried. They had learned that tears were not always weakness. "We cannot bring him back," Selkie said gently. "But we can honor his memory. He created you. You created this change in us. He lives in that chain." Mary dragged herself to Nari's side and pressed against her leg. Velrus, Keta, and Shoru came too. They placed their paws on her hands, just like they had that first night. "You taught us about grief," Varush said. "But you also taught us about love, about choosing family, about caring for those who cannot care for themselves." He gestured to Miri. "She would have died under our old ways. Now she is the most valuable member of our community. Not because of what she can do," they added, "but because of who she is." "You changed us," Hana said. "You made us better." Nari looked at all of them. At the cubs who had started everything. At the adults who had learned to accept change. At the settlement that was now more than just a survival outpost. "I have a request," Selkie said. "When you return from Earth, after you have honored your brother, would you come back to us? Not as a researcher, not as an observer, but as a teacher, as family. We need you," Varush added. "This change is fragile. We need someone to guide us as we learn to be more than we were." "Stay with us," Miri said in her small voice. She had been practicing human words. "Please." Nari knelt down so she was eye level with the small cub. "I have to go to Earth first," she said. "I have to say goodbye to my brother properly." "But you come back?" Miri asked. Her voice was frightened. "I promise," Nari said. "I will come back." "How do we know?" Miri asked. Nari thought for a moment. Then she removed the bracelet from her wrist. It was a simple thing, woven from thread, that Jiho had made for her when they were children. She had worn it every day since his death. She tied it gently around Mary's front leg. "This was my brother's," she said. "It is very important to me. I am leaving it with you, so you know I will return. I would never abandon something so precious." Mary looked at the bracelet with wide eyes. She understood the weight of the gift. "I keep it safe," she promised. "Until you come back." The transport ship waited. Nari gathered her few personal belongings. Scientific equipment would stay for the next researcher. Clothes and tools would stay for the Telvanni to use. She took only what mattered. Photos of Jiho, her mother's letters. The recording of the old Korean lullaby dot as she walked to the transport. The entire settlement came to see her off. It was unprecedented. Telvanni did not do group goodbyes. But they did now. Selkies stepped forward. She did something shocking. She placed her paw on Nari's hand. A gesture of family. Of bond. "Travel safely," the old matriarch said. "And come home soon." Home, not back. Home. Nari smiled through her tears. "I will." She boarded the transport. As it lifted off, she looked down at the settlement. The Telvanni stood together, watching her go. Mary sat at the front, the bracelet visible even from this height. The transport captain noticed her watching. "You will miss them," he said. "Yes," Nari said. "But I will see them again." "You sound certain," the captain said. "I am," Nari said. "I made a promise." The ship climbed higher, breaking through the atmosphere. Tavos 3 became a purple sphere below them. Then it became a dot. Then it was lost among the stars. Nari sat in her cabin and pulled out a photo of Jiho. He was smiling in it, young and full of life. She touched his face gently. "I am going to tell everyone about you," she whispered to the photo. "About how you taught me to ask questions. About how you taught me to care. About how you made me who I am. You created all of this, Jiho. The cubs who learned compassion. The settlement that learned to care. The culture that is changing because I was here. And I was only here because of you. She thought about the memorial stone with his name on it. About the way a boy from Earth would now be remembered on an alien world. Light years from where he died. About how love could cross species and stars, and death itself. About how one act of kindness could ripple outward forever. 3 months later, Nari stood at Jiho's grave on Earth. She placed flowers there and told him everything. About the storm. About the cubs. About the changes happening on Talvos 3. About the family she had found among aliens. Her mother stood beside her. He would be proud of you, she said. I know, Nari said. That is why I am going back. To the aliens? Her mother asked. To my family, Nari corrected. She stayed on Earth for 2 weeks. She honored Jiho properly. She spent time with her mother. She visited old friends. She did everything she needed to do. Then she boarded another transport, heading out to the frontier. When she arrived back at Talvos 3, the entire settlement was waiting at the landing pad they had built. Miri sat at the front, the bracelet still on her leg, carefully preserved. As Nari stepped off the transport, Miri dragged herself forward as fast as she could. Nari ran to meet her. She scooped the cub up and held her tight. I came back, Nari said. I knew, Miri said. I knew because you love us. And that was the truth of it. Nari loved them. Not because she had to. Not because it was her job. But because she chose to